Okay, so welcome everyone to A Course in Miracles Satsang. Continuing, this is week 7 of going through chapter 27, The Healing of the Dream. And my co-host Shannon Williams and myself will just be reading through. We're going to have a beautiful half-hour meditation today. So you won't be required to do anything today other than just sit back, relax. Let's just say our prayer to start with, because every encounter is with the Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit is in our mind and it encounters everything. We don't encounter anything because there is no me to encounter. I'm only in a relationship with my thoughts about everything. So we're going to ask the Holy Spirit to be in relationship with this Zoom group and the words that come through, and anything that we hear or see today, the Holy Spirit, we put him in charge, which is something we do until we don't need to do it, because we end up living in that mind. So there's no me to put the Holy Spirit in charge. But we can do that as a way to help confirm that that's the way to truth until we don't need to do it. We're living in it. So at the start, we're choosing, we're stuck in one mind and we're moving to the other mind. And we finally see that this other mind is totally false. It's based on the belief in separation from God, our love, the love that created us. And we come to let go of, all it is thoughts we're letting go of, thoughts and beliefs. That's all we're letting go of. It feels like we're letting go of a real self. But towards the end, what we see is we laugh at what we think we're letting go of, because what we are and where we are is so magnificent and so beautiful that we really, like, we're giving up, like I think I've shared before, like the tiny little scrap of at the piece of paper. If we tear off that tiniest bit that you could hardly even see, and it's minuscule, that's what we're giving up. We're valuing this, and God's saying, and this has no edges. It's the all. So every time you think you're valuing your life and something here, and you think, how can I let this go to come to God and let it all go? That's what he showed me. He said, tear off the tiniest bit of the corner of the paper, and that's what you're hanging on to and valuing, and you can't even write anything on it. It's too small to do anything. He always gave me some really good analogies, because we're all in the same boat when we're here. We're all got some value on it, and he leads us home by showing us that. So we'll start today. We're going to go through section 6 of The Healing of the Dream. So this is the healing of the dream. It all works together for good. Everything I say, everything Shannon says, everything here, every lesson of a course, it's all about letting go of valuing anything here. Everything turns to dust here. It's not valuable. Your life, it seems to be that, in the dream, nothing lasts, nothing is changeless. You come and you go, thoughts come and go, things come and go, everything comes and goes. It's always moving. So we want to start to identify and live in something that doesn't change, a changeless dwelling place. That's where we want to be. So we have to give up what changes to come to really value the changeless dwelling place, and let our guide guide us. We all have our own unique journey, not destination, it's not a unique destination, but our own unique way of coming home. And he's going to give you all the same little things. Like he showed me a piece of paper and he showed me letters with just symbols, and he said, don't, one time he showed me the word God, like it was as if it was, really big letters on a page, G-O-D, because I had issues with the word God. And he said, look, just look at the word God on a page and then zoom into the pixels of it, and then zoom a bit further in, and you sort of got ink on a page. Because it was to undo the fear of God, right? And he just said that it was just a way to show me, deepening into it, to look at the symbols, because I seemed to, every time I read the word God, and this was very early on, that I just said, look, I'm scared of God. I don't know what God is. And it was just one of the ways that he just got me to see through the word. And he said, just let go of the word G, the letter G. Just look into it. It means nothing. It's just a semicircle with a little thing on the bottom. It means nothing. Let me take you into the all and the everything. Go past all that. Just let go and swim into, let go of everything you know about the word and the symbol, and just swim into the all and the everything, which is just everything being love. So that's how he's going to take us. He's going to, if we just open up and just say, teach me, lead me. I want to come to God. I want the peace of God. All that it takes is our willingness to just be open and say, okay, use everything here to bring peace in. He will go to work. He just waits on us to just let go, not come with our own answer, but be a student. So as a teacher, all you're really doing is teaching others how to be a student. That's really all you're teaching. That I'm a student. I was a student. It looks like I'm teaching, but I'm not. I'm just teaching you what I've learned. Teaching you that I was open to learn, I should say, and I was willing to learn. So we just teach each other, don't we? We lead each other home through our examples. So Shannon, do you think you could start off the reading this week? Thank you.
Sure, Kate. Thanks. The witnesses to sin. Pain demonstrates the body must be real. It is a loud, obscuring voice whose shrieks would silence what the Holy Spirit says and keep his words from your awareness. Pain compels attention, drawing it away from him and focusing upon itself. Its purpose is the same as pleasure, for they both are means to make the body real. What shares a common purpose is the same. This is the law of purpose, which unites all those who share in it within itself. Pleasure and pain are equally unreal because their purpose cannot be achieved. Thus are they means for nothing, for they have a goal without meaning, and they share the lack of meaning which their purpose has.
Yeah. So pain demonstrates the body must be real. That's its purpose. Right? He talks about this purpose. When you have pain and you have no awareness of this teaching, it can feel very frustrating reading something like this, because it really, really, really feels that we're not choosing pain. It feels like pain is definitely happening to us. So it's important to remember that we are totally unaware of the unconscious choice to make our body real. We are totally unaware of the fear of redemption, the fear of God, the fear of love. This fear of love is very huge in our mind. And all this is operating outside the awareness of that we currently have. So when we have pain, and my mind did too, I had a lot of pain in my body. I had chronic fatigue. I used to wake up with pain all through my body. I could hardly walk. I couldn't even sort of walk upstairs or hold a hairdryer up. Pain and tiredness and fatigue. And there was no remedy for it. There was nothing I could do to help myself. Even sleeping 16 hours, I would wake up tired. So coming to these teachings and hearing that judgment is making me tired. Pain is an idea in my mind. It's not a real thing. So what happens is for us to go from having pain and feeling we're not choosing pain, like we really feel, I'm not wanting this pain. In fact, I want to be free of it. I don't want this pain. When we feel that, and we don't feel we want the pain, we have to realize that there is a part of our mind that is out of awareness, that is desiring it. And why we have to believe that, even if we're not aware that we're choosing it, is that Jesus says in the Course that this is what we're doing. So our journey of undoing is going to reveal how we're choosing it. We are going to see there's going to be like veils, steps up the ladder, things loosened off, where you're going to see your decision for pain. It's going to be revealed to you. But when you can't see it and you just feel there's no way I want this pain, I hate this pain and I want to be out of it, like I did, we have to tell ourselves that Jesus is right in his teaching, that there is part of our mind that is out of our awareness right now that desires it. And so we say to ourselves in the early parts when we have pain and we're not aware of our choice for it, that we will go along and do forgiveness and that we trust that it will be revealed to us. And then in that realization, and when it's becoming, when the things are stripped away and we see it in our mind, our choice for it, what will happen in the next moment is it will be let go very gently. We will let it go. So that's how it's, so Jesus is like a sword in that he's very direct and just says pain demonstrates the body must be real. And we might hear that sentence as early as course students and say, that just makes no sense to me, but it will. It's our attraction to being small and little and guilty, because to be the magnificence of love, the ego says that will cost you. You are going to have to love everybody. And why would you love them when they're sinful or they're guilty? So the ego is constantly working behind the scenes to bring up a lot of fear about this magnificence of love. And that's why we have to work continuously with the Holy Spirit and Jesus, practicing forgiveness, to have these things slowly like a little flower budding, slowly revealed to us. It's very, very gently unveiled to us, and we're looking at it. He will look at our thoughts with us, and he will give us the miracle of change perception. And if we really work with the Holy Spirit and Jesus with more willingness and readiness, these things will be revealed. So wherever you're at, where you're in this meeting, whether you're just starting with the course or whether you've already seen this part of your mind, because what you're doing when we go with the course, we're going into the mind. Now, the mind's not in the head. I usually point that way because that's what we think, but it's not in here. You can't actually see the mind or know where the mind is, right? We generally say, a lot of people say brain and mind together thinking it's the same thing. It's not. The brain is part of the illusory body that we think we are. So the mind, we have to go into the mind. So pain we think is in the body. We have to trust these teachings. So the best thing is to decide that even though you may not understand the teachings, you may not have an awareness, come to decide that whatever you read in the course is truth. And just tell yourself, I'm not there yet, but this is the truth, because this teaching offers you peace of God. It offers you peace of mind. And if you work with your inner guide, it will lead you to it. Be of no rush. Have no rush or timetable about it. Know that wherever you are right now is exactly where you're meant to be. He says you can't be anywhere but in the right place at the right time. You're just where you are. You're going to be in the ego or the Holy Spirit, and you're going to waver and ping pong around all the time. Sometimes you're going to have beautiful experiences and hours and days and weeks in the Holy Spirit and that beautiful right-minded thoughts, and then all of a sudden you're going to fall back into the ego. It is the way that it happens, and that's how it happened for me. But all you need to do is ask for correction. That's all we need to do. We're like a jetliner going to a destination, and it's constantly corrected. It's never flying like that. It's always like that, constantly corrected. And that's how our mind is. So what's really beautiful in this paragraph is pleasure and pain are equally unreal because their purpose cannot be achieved. So the purpose of pain and pleasure is actually, well, let's just talk about pleasure. Pleasure is to seek happiness. We're constantly seeking pleasure, as with the ego. The ego is always saying, avoid pain and go for pleasure. But they're equally unreal in that if you notice, if you ever do anything to seek pleasure, you'll always get pain with it. Now, pain as in an experience of pain in the body, I've mentioned this many times and I've sort of already talked a little bit about it. What it is, and it's the ego's way of really loudly saying that I am a body. And it's even though we can't see it, it's our unconscious fear of God, fear of this infinite, boundless love that we are. And as I said, you won't be aware of that fear, but you will see it. The Holy Spirit will show it to you. He will reveal everything to you very gently, very calmly. it will be. It was like that for me. It was always beautiful, always lovely. There was never anything. The only fear I ever had was from the ego. So the ego is a fear thought, and we're going to sometimes remember to do forgiveness and ask for the miracle, sometimes quickly, and sometimes we're going to forget, maybe days or weeks to forget to ask for the correction, for the miracle. But the more we can become aware that we're upset or we're in fear and we're not in our right mind, the more we remember, the more we dedicate ourselves to remembering throughout the day, the more it will become a habit. And these things will start to be revealed when at last we say, I want the peace of God and nothing else. I want nothing from this world. I only want the peace of God. And that's when we see that nothing in this world brings us that beautiful peace. And that each mind will come to choose that. And it's already been done. It's already in the script. But it seems like we're going through the script. But we're told, and that's what the truth is that the whole thing is that we've never been here to do forgiveness, to go through to awakening, to awaken. But here we are doing it, and we have to do it. But what's revealed at the end, you will see in your mind that you are never an ego, never a body, and never in a world. And that's what was revealed to me, to my mind. And yet here I sit seemingly in a body, seemingly speaking through a body, seemingly in a world. But what you're seeing is something that is being used by the mind now, the Holy Spirit, and not an ego. There's not an ego here, but it can be used. So pain is impossible in a body because it's happening in the mind. And so all we need to do is heal our mind of the belief in separation from God, from love. And that's really, if you focus on that, and we're going to meditation today is really beautiful and will help us with that. So sin shifts from pain to pleasure and again to pain, for either witness is the same and carries but one message. The message is, you are here within this body and you can be hurt. You can have pleasure too, but only at the cost of pain. So that's the message of the ego. These witnesses are joined by many more. Each one seems different because it has a different name, and so it seems to answer to a different sound. So it was just talking about names before, and here we go, the sound of a name. Except for this, the witnesses of sin are all alike. Call pleasure pain, and it will hurt. Call pain a pleasure, and the pain becomes a pleasure. Call pain a pleasure, and the pain behind the pleasure will be felt no more. Sin's witnesses but shift from name to name as one steps forward and another back. Yet which is foremost makes no difference. Sin's witnesses hear but the call of death. And so really all this is just saying is that any time we are using anything of this world, it's pleasure, and we're seeking pleasure and getting pain, and pain and pleasure are all mixed up. So one time I hurt my thumb, and I did this little thing where I called it pleasure. It felt pleasurable. And then I thought, no, I'm going to call that pain. And I felt the pain. So you can actually do this with yourself. You can see the pain isn't something real. You can change your mind about it, which is what he's saying here. Have a little go, call pain pleasure, and then call pleasure pain. And you can see that you decide about it. But it's all to do, all these things are to do with what he calls here. He says that the biggest problem that we have is that we have the message that I am here within this body, and therefore I can be hurt, and being something in a body means that I can have pleasure and pain. And that actual message is what keeps us stuck. So he's got to counteract that message that we're attached to and get us to see that we are not a body, that we are spirit, we are free, we are mind, we are boundless, we are nowhere, we're everywhere. He's going to show us that. Shannon?
Yeah, I remember he took me through the pain and pleasure thing, but also, I mean, he started with a cold and hot thing because for some reason I just really had issues with extreme temperatures. And we have really cold days here in the winter, and we have really hot days here in the summer. And so I remember he took me through this process, and it's really about that judgment of like this hot weather. Once it gets over a certain temperature, then it's a problem for me. Right. And so like it's that judgment of it's a problem that's actually the problem. And, so it's the same with pain and pleasure and really anything. It's us determining what is valuable to us and what is valueless to us within the ego construct. And within the ego construct, what he teaches us is that everything is valueless except love. And so we can really start to see, even with these little tiny things like these judgments, these places where we're saying this is a problem, or I really don't like this. We can let him show us that actually, there, like he took me through even, look, some people like cold weather, some people don't, like who is to say if it's good or bad? Well, really, it's just me and my judgment about it, my own quote unquote personal experience with it, and how I want to have it, the temperature a certain way to be happy. And happiness comes first. Happiness is always first. Peace is always first. And so that just reminded me of that when he said, call pain a pleasure, and the pain behind the pleasure will be felt no more. Because what I experienced was that I could walk out in, 32-degree freezing weather and have no problem with it, because I let him clear all these things from my mind. I could be out in 100-degree weather, really hot, and there was no problem there for me anymore as I let him unwind these ideas out, clear it out, because it's only me. And so then I was suffering. I was actually suffering, like, sweating and like, oh, it was ridiculous. And so then I could just laugh it away. Yeah. And so that's what he'll do for us. He'll show us these things that we're choosing, we're doing to ourselves, but then we want to play the victim instead. I mean, the victim story was always my go-to, I'm a victim of hot weather, a victim of cold weather, a victim of pain. So yeah, it's a beautiful process. And like Cate said, it's like, you just end up with this peace and happiness, and that's coming first. That's where I'm coming from. So no matter what I'm seeing, no matter what I'm experiencing, like I'm in that. And so it's just all happy. Okay. This body, purposeless within itself, holds all your memories and all your hopes. You use its eyes to see, its ears to hear, and let it tell you what it is it feels. It does not know. It tells you but the names you gave to it to use. When you call forth the witnesses to its reality, you cannot choose among them which are real, for any one you choose is like the rest. This name or that, but nothing more, you choose. You do not make a witness true because you called him by truth's name. The truth is found in him if it is truth he represents. And otherwise he lies if you should call him by the holy name of God himself.
Interestingly, that I was guided to share about at the start of the group about this name and the little words that make up the word Cate. And here it is in this section. I hadn't actually read this today, so that's interesting. You can see how sometimes just following what to talk about, the stream of words and ideas that come through. So he's talking here about the body purposeless within itself. We can see that it holds all our memories and hopes, and we use its eyes and its ears, but it doesn't know. It just doesn't know anything. It's a whole part of our mind that is trying to fit itself into something really tiny and little, a little body, a little that seems to be born, and we have this suffering little life, and we call out names to each other. You cannot choose among them which are real, for anyone you choose is like the rest. So they're all just bodies with names, and these names are that, nothing more. They're not truth. We're just stuck in an illusion of bodies, a world of things. Nothing here has any value at all. And I was just going to share a little bit when Shannon was talking about cold and heat having fear of them, because anytime you don't want something, you're fearful. You have some fear in your mind about what was going to happen to me if the temperature gets to this. I'm going to have to defend. So we feel this defensiveness come up, like, oh, if I go out today and it's really hot, what can I do? Am I going to get overwhelmed by the heat? So one of the things on my journey of undoing, I had this friend come and stay with me, Course in Miracles friend, and she stayed with me about 2 months. And one day, it was sort of like you might just say a middle of the road day, not hot nor cold in the world's terms, right? And we were going out together, and I said to her, I'm really worried it's going to be hot. So, I started to talk about layering up, so I could take things off so that I wouldn't get hot. And I didn't really express it like that. I just was, we were getting ready, and I was walking around saying it could be hot today. So, blah, blah, blah. And she was saying, yes, it might be cold. She was terrified of the cold. And I used to, even before this particular day happened, I noticed that what I would go around saying, oh, it's going to be a beautiful day today. She'd say, I'm going to be cold. I'm going to be cold. And so it was so interesting because I just looked at her and I said, do you realise that you're defending against the cold today and I'm defending against the hot, and it's the same day? And we both got this really big realisation because we were putting the Holy Spirit in charge and working at undoing all these attachments. And we just both started laughing. And I've shared that in one of, in my talks throughout the years, that how a realization came in. And in that realization, I had the message, it's neither good nor bad. Your mind makes it so. And I'm like, right, this day is neither hot nor cold. It's what I'm defending about. I'm coming from my past and I'm saying what's coming through is I won't cope if it gets hot. I won't cope. Well, who's the I that won't cope? Because it's just thoughts. So in this little teaching here, what we call pain, in other words, I'm going to suffer pain if I go out and it's too hot. That's what I'm thinking. I'm already defending, like, what will I take? How will I do it? Where can I go to get into the air-conditioned building? And what can I do to defend this body? So he worked with me in each circumstance. So what I did was I went out into what I would, at that stage, the ego would have called it hot, too hot. You can't be out here, you'll suffer. And came out there and worked with the Holy Spirit to look at my beliefs about heat, and did a lot of things like, I think I shared at the time that I used to have a fan on every night. I was fearful of getting hot during the night. He got me to turn that off and undo this belief. So we can't, because otherwise it's like everywhere I went at that stage, I had to have a fan. I had to have a fan on in the car. I had to have a fan everywhere I went to stay. I'd say, have you got a little fan? Or I'd take my fan. I had a fan on my desk at work. And I realized that I just had this very, very strong thing about needing a breeze on me. And that you suffer then because you're defending against the unfan situation. So we all have to look at this, because we all have these defenses. We all have this idea that there's going to be pain if I don't get a certain thing, whether it be rain, whether it be crowds, no crowds, weather, anything. So we have to notice where we've got putting anything in this world as painful, in terms of there's going to be something I need to defend against. And this is why he says, in my defenselessness, my safety lies, my happiness lies, my freedom lies. When I'm not defending against anything, and I can go and lie anywhere and be in any weather, any place, any time, crowds, noise, no noise, anything. We are going to be able to be anywhere without a thought about it, because it's only my thoughts that cause me to be upset. So let's read on here. God's witnesses sees no witnesses against the body. So that God's witnesses is like the Holy Spirit, sees no witnesses against the body. It's that it sees that place where I got to, where I was defenseless, and I'd let go of all my, I didn't let them go. The Holy Spirit helped me see past them. So I was using the miracle. Give me another perception of this. I want to be free. I don't want to have to, everywhere I go, worry about, will they have a fan? Will this, will that? Constantly defending something for the body. Oh, the body can't cope if there's not a fan on it. See how it's all about me being a body. That's the problem. Me associating myself with this thing that's got to have something happening so it can feel comfortable, so it can feel no pain and it gets its pleasure. So the Holy Spirit sees no witnesses against the body. It doesn't see the weather or people, crowds, what someone says, how something looks. It doesn't see anything that's against the body. Neither does he hearken to the witnesses by other names that speak in other ways for its reality. He's talking about bodies here. Neither does he hearken to the witnesses by other names. In other words, you're going to have witnesses saying, oh, no, you need to put this on, or you need to do that, or you need to protect or defend. So he's not going to, the God's witnesses, the Holy Spirit, is going to remind you not to listen to those voices that tell you that you need to defend against all these things. He, the Holy Spirit, knows it is not real, for nothing could contain what you believe it holds within, nor could it tell a part of God himself what it should feel and what its function is. In other words, you know, he's moving us in to say that this little thing that you feel is yourself within a body, it's so beautiful and so boundless and so lovely that it can't tell you that you're going to what you should feel. Yet must he love whatever you hold dear. In other words, the Holy Spirit is going to, let me read on and I'll explain a little bit more. And for each witness to the body's death, he sends a witness to your life in him who knows no death. Each miracle he brings is witness that the body is not real. So all these things that Shannon and I are sharing about, and I'm sure you've all got your own stories, and how you've had the Holy Spirit help you undo something to do with relating to that this body is real. All these things serve that the miracle is a shift in perception that brings something that changes your mind, that you are not a body. So the Spirit will bring in, like what I did with the fan situation and the weather situation. I said, show me how. And he said, right, we'll turn off the fan and just remain with me. And there was nothing. I just was with the Holy Spirit, just being with him. And there was no thoughts about this will be awful. I'll get too hot. I'll need this on. And so that was the miracle, and it takes you past and it witnesses that the body is not real. So part of that is the holy instant where you have this experience of being not in a body, no thoughts about a body. You're with the Holy Spirit and you're in this experience of something else. Its pains and pleasures does he heal alike, for all sin's witnesses do his replace. So do his thoughts, his miracles replace. So every single thing that anyone here has an attachment to, just look at it, and during the week, just see if you can just identify anything that you hold as really something that you can't stand. I've worked with people that haven't been able to stand a dripping tap, haven't been able to stand a clock ticking, haven't been able to stand, like with this other lady, cold weather. Anything, crowds, open spaces. Some people hate being in the city, hate loud noises. He will take you through anything that you're defending against or holding out, that this thing, I have to defend against it always. I've worked with people that have literally not been able to leave their house because they have the temperature set in their house and they believe that if they go outside, that they're going to be in extreme pain because their house, they can only be in a certain temperature. One of the things about this is that the more you give into this idea that you need this thing to feel safe, like the fan, what happens is it gets worse. Over time, you'll notice if you have a thing that you think you need, and it might even be that you need to eat a certain thing at a certain meal, or you need to have a juice before you eat this, or you have to have a cup of tea or a water at a certain time. Anything that you notice in your life that you feel very attached to, you'll start to notice that the more you feel attached to it, the more it increases in its value to you. And I noticed that originally it was just to have a fan on in summer. And then I had to have the fan on every night. And then I had to have the fan in the car, the fan at work, the fan wherever I went. And I noticed that over time, and anyone I've ever talked to that's had this sort of thing, that think it's bringing pleasure, but the pain it brings is the pain of defending against a body, that it's a body, that my body is going to be really upset. And so anything that you feel, it's good to notice that it gets worse over time and you get more a prisoner to it. You become a real prisoner. You're in jail and you've put yourself in there. And the way to get out is to very, very gently, and it didn't just happen in one night, me getting over this fan, needing a fan on. It happened over a couple of weeks. It wasn't maybe 2 or 3 weeks. I remember it didn't take long. But we can just say, Holy Spirit, I'm going to face this thing that I think is going to cause me to have distress. Come with me and show me I'm open to it. And we can use Jesus and the Holy Spirit to look at this and have the miracle instead. So, Shannon, would you like to read on?
Sure. The miracle makes no distinctions in the names by which sin's witnesses are called. It merely proves that what they represent has no effects. And that's really it. Every single time I experienced a miracle where I was shown so clearly that I would laugh because the whole thing seemed silly to me then. And I mean, some of these things were like what the world would call serious problems, like health issues, like really bad ones that had no cure. And yeah, like that's what he does. It's merely proves that what they represent has no effects. And this it proves because its own effects have come to take their place. It matters not the name by which you called your suffering. It is no longer there. The one who brings the miracle perceives them all as one and called by name of fear. As fear is witness unto death, so is the miracle the witness unto life. It is a witness no one can deny, for it is the effects of life it brings. The dying live, the dead arise, and pain has vanished. Yet a miracle speaks not but for itself, but what it represents.
Love, too, has symbols in a world of sin. The miracle forgives because it stands for what is past forgiveness and is true. How foolish and insane it is to think a miracle is bound by laws that it came solely to undo. The laws of sin have different witnesses with different strengths, and they attest to different sufferings. Yet to the one who sent forth miracles to bless the world, a tiny stab of pain, a little worldly pleasure, and the throes of death itself are but a single sound, a call for healing and a plaintive cry for help within a world of misery. It is their sameness that the miracle attests. It is their sameness that it proves. The laws that calls them different are dissolved and shown as powerless. The purpose of a miracle is to accomplish this, and God himself has guaranteed the strength of miracles for what they witness to.
Be you then witness to the miracle and not the laws of sin. There is no need to suffer anymore, but there is need that you be healed, because the suffering and sorrow of the world have made it deaf to its salvation and deliverance.
The resurrection of the world awaits your healing and your happiness, that you may demonstrate the healing of the world. The holy instant will replace all sin if you but carry its effects with you, and no one will elect to suffer more. What better function could you serve than this? Be healed that you may heal, and suffer not the laws of sin to be applied to you. The truth will be revealed to you who chose to let love symbols take the place of sin. So take the place of sin, of pain, of valuing something that's not worth valuing, of the body, the belief in the body. Let love symbols, the Holy Spirit symbols, show you that you're not a body, you are free. You are still as God created you. That's really the true message, that I am something that is invulnerable. That's what the miracle shows us constantly, that you are not this body, that you can be free. And he teaches us by us giving over, okay, Holy Spirit, I have this attachment. We don't undo it by ourselves. We can't, because we're stuck in it. The whole journey is to surrender to him, helping us to release it and let go, and show us that we are something that is safe and invulnerable. And that experience comes in as we let go of what we think, these little things that we're the little things of the world, that tiny little bit of paper, a tiny little scrap, the fan, that's the fan, trying to hold on to that and say, this is my safety. And constantly being in fear that that little scrap of paper is going to be lost. When if I let it go, he's going to carry me across to everything, to have everything, to be everything, to be this beautiful, glorious love of God. He's going to move me into that and give me that experience. And so we don't have to do it. All we need to do is be ready to have him do it for us, show us. We're like the passenger. He's the driver of the car. He takes us through these things. So that's beautiful. So that's the end of today's reading. And now we're going to do the meditation. So Shannon, it's lesson 124. Would you like to read? We didn't talk about this, but can we read that together? So we're going to read this lesson together, Shannon and I, and then after we've read it, I'll take you back to the meditation in this lesson. So Shannon, would you like to start the reading? Thank you.
Sure, thanks, Cate. Let me remember I am one with God. Today, We will again give thanks for our identity in God. Our home is safe, protection guaranteed in all we do, power and strength available to us in all our undertakings. We can fail in nothing. Everything we touch takes on a shining light that blesses and that heals. At one with God and with the universe, we go our way rejoicing with the thought that God Himself goes everywhere with us.
How holy are our minds, and everything we see reflects the holiness within the mind, at one with God and with itself. How easily do errors disappear and death give place to everlasting life. Our shining footprints point the way to truth, for God is our companion as we walk the world a little while. And those who come to follow us will recognize the way, because the light we carry stays behind, yet still remains with us as we walk on.
What we receive is our eternal gift to those who follow after, and to those who went before or stayed with us a while. And God, who loves us with the equal love in which we were created, smiles on us and offers us the happiness we gave.
Today, we will not doubt His love for us, nor question His protection and His care. No meaningless anxieties can come between our faith and our awareness of His presence. We are one with Him today in recognition and remembrance. We feel Him in our hearts. Our mind contains His thoughts. Our eyes behold His loveliness in all we look upon. Today, we seek only the loving and the lovable.
We see it in appearances of pain, and pain gives way to peace. We see it in the frantic, in the sad and the distressed, the lonely and afraid, who are restored to the tranquility and peace of mind in which they were created. And we see it in the dying and the dead as well, restoring them to life. All this we see because we saw it first within ourselves.
No miracle can ever be denied to those who know that they are one with God. No thought of theirs but has the power to heal all forms of suffering in anyone, in times gone by and times as yet to come, as easily as in the ones who walk beside them now. Their thoughts are timeless and apart from distance as apart from time.
We join in this awareness as we say that we are one with God. For in these words, we say as well that we are saved and healed, that we can save and heal accordingly. We have accepted, and we now will give, for we will keep the gifts our Father gave. Today, we would experience ourselves at one with Him, so that the world may share our recognition of reality. In our experience, the world is freed. As we deny our separation from our Father, it is healed along with us.
Peace be to you today. Secure your peace by practicing awareness. You are one with your Creator as He is with you. Sometime today, whenever it seems best, which we will do now, devote a half an hour to the thought that you are one with God. This is our first attempt at an extended period for which we give no rules nor special words to guide your meditation. We will trust God's voice to speak as He sees fit today, certain He will not fail. Abide with Him this half an hour, and He will do the rest.
Your benefit will not be less if you believe that nothing happens. You may not be ready to accept the gain today, yet sometime, somewhere, it will come to you. Nor will you fail to recognize it when it dawns with certainty upon your mind. This half an hour will be framed in gold, with every minute like a diamond set around the mirror that this exercise will offer you. And you will see Christ's face upon it in reflection of your own.
Perhaps today, perhaps tomorrow, you will see your own transfiguration in the glass. This holy half an hour will hold out to you to look upon yourself. When you are ready, you will find it there within your mind and waiting to be found. You will remember then the thought to which you gave this half an hour, thankfully aware no time was ever better spent.
Perhaps today, perhaps tomorrow, you will look into this glass and understand that the sinless light you see belongs to you. The loveliness you look on is your own. Count this half hour as your gift to God, in certainty that His return will be a sense of love you cannot understand, a joy too deep for you to comprehend, a sight too holy for the body's eyes to see. And yet you can be sure someday, perhaps today, perhaps tomorrow, you will understand and comprehend and see.
So we're going to give half an hour now. So I'm just trying to find, okay. So the instructions are devote half an hour to the thought that you are one with God. So sit quietly or lie down somewhere. You can turn your video off if you like. We're going to join together, going to give over half an hour. We're going to give it over to the thought that we are one with God. There's going to be no rules nor special words, just the thought that I am one with God. Thank you. Okay. It was half an hour. And I'd like us to not stray from that deep sinking inward. So we're just going to do a silent goodbye and gratitude. And if you can, try to really remain silent over the next few hours. And if you can, try to remain silent before you go to bed and bring that quietness with you. And so you don't need to unmute yourselves. Let's just do a minute where we look around at the others in the group and just feel gratitude coming forth for everyone here in silence. Thank you to Shannon, and thank you to everyone who has joined the group or is listening in. Thank you, everyone.